Season 4 of Apex Legends is finally here, and I just want to give you guys a very warm welcome to the Revenant Beginner's Guide. This guide is mainly going to be focused on those of you who haven't played Revenant that much, or maybe not at all. If you're still finding yourself a little bit unsure just how Revenant works with all of his abilities and passives, I hope this video clears things up for you. If this is your first time to the channel, hello, my name is Loochy, and mainly I focus on FPS titles, battle royales, and things of that nature. So if you're interested in that and you like today's video, consider liking the video and possibly hitting that sub button. The last thing I want to say before we dive into this video is just to remember that this is a beginner's guide. While I will be going into Revenant's abilities, each of them, and what they do, just remember that I won't be going into any advanced tips or tricks or anything like that. I will be saving that for a future video, so be on the lookout within the next few days for that. So Revenant's tactical ability, and the first one we're going to be talking about today, is Silence. Revenant will throw a shadowy device that will explode on impact, deal a little bit of damage. From averages that I've seen, it's around 9 to 10 damage, but feel free to tell me in the comments below if you've seen it more or less. And in addition to that damage, he will silence all enemies that he hits for 10 whole seconds. 10 seconds. That is a massive silence. And if that's not enough, once the device actually explodes, it leaves a shadowy cloud on the ground where it exploded for 6 seconds. Enemies that walk through this cloud will have the same 10-second silence and damage applied to them. Now, if we just take a quick second to think about this, it's pretty obvious why this ability can be so impactful in the right Revenant player's hands. 10 seconds to be silenced and not being able to use any of your abilities is a pretty long time, and that's going to force the enemy team to make one of two decisions: fight or run. Wraith will not be able to weasel away with her tactical ability. Bangalore can't drop smokes. Gibby can't pop a dome shield to protect him from fire. Pathfinder can't grapple away. I think you guys are starting to get the point here. Revenant's silence ability can create really awkward moments for enemy teams that aren't ready for it. All of this being said, as Revenant, you do have to land your silence ability for any of this to happen in the first place. It's not a gigantic radius of silence, so you do kind of have to aim your ability before you use it, or pray that someone walks through it on accident, which, to be honest, most times won't happen. In addition to all of this, it should be noted that Revenant's silence ability will not cancel abilities that are already active. If there is a Bloodhound ult already going on, you cannot take Bloodhound out of his ultimate. All in all, silence is a really powerful ability in the right hands, and I think it's going to create some very fun and devastating situations for the enemy teams. Moving on to Revenant's passive ability, we have the ability Stalker. Now, Stalker is kind of a two-part passive ability here, and we're going to talk about both of them. The first part is Revenant's ability to crouch walk really fast. I mean, just as fast as you would normally walk, he can crouch walk. Not sprinting, but the normal walk speed, yeah, his crouch speed is the exact same. Now what this means is you're going to be able to sneak up on enemies that much faster, and guess what? When you're crouched in Apex Legends, you are silent, so enemies aren't going to hear you coming, and you're going to be basically walking full speed towards them. This can create for some very fast and very sneaky plays and maneuvers, and I'm excited to see what the Apex community does with Revenant's crouch walk. The second part of Stalker, the passive ability, is the fact that Revenant can climb walls higher and faster than any other legend in Apex Legends. Now, don't quote me on the exact height Revenant can climb, but after playing with him for 10 to 15 hours, I can safely say that it's at least double what normal legends can. In addition to that, he will also scale smaller walls that normal legends can climb about 25% faster, since he decelerates while climbing at a much slower rate than a normal legend would, thus granting him the ability to climb faster and higher. So all in all, I think they found a healthy balance, and Revenant is a very real threat to teams that are held up on top of rooftops that aren't quite expecting anybody but Pathfinder to be able to get up to them. What this means is, as a Revenant player, you should be taking advantage of the fact that Revenant is so very new to the meta, and a lot of teams that are held up on top of 2- or 3-story buildings aren't going to be expecting anybody to just climb up the backside of the wall and silently crouch walk behind them. Communicate with your team and be that initial push to get that team off of the roof, or really just get the first shot on them before they know what hit them, and have your team follow up behind you. Now, the final and most confusing ability for most people to understand at first is Revenant's ultimate ability, Death Totem. Death Totem has a charge up time of 180 seconds and will drop a totem that protects all users from death. Instead of getting killed or downed, you will return to the totem. Now, before I go any further with this ultimate, I want to address this immediately, because this seems to be the most confusing part for most people. Just because Revenant drops his totem does not mean you automatically get the effects. You have to walk up to the totem and click it to apply the death protection effect. I saw so many people in the first couple of days with Revenant just dropping the totem, running into battle, and dying, and not understanding what the hell happened because they thought, hey, we're supposed to be getting sent back to the totem right now, why are we dead? And this is pretty much the exact reason why that's happening. So as Revenant or a teammate of Revenant, make sure you click the totem to apply the death protection effect. You should see in the bottom right of your screen, there should be a little skull with a timer and a red bar that'll indicate how much more time you have to be protected from death. Now, once you have the death protection effect, you want to be aware of that giant blue dome that you've probably seen appear all around the area of the totem. This is your effective range for the death protection. If you go outside of that range, you will lose the buff and no longer respawn at the totem should you get killed. The totem itself takes 1 second to create and it lasts 30 seconds, and yes, it can be destroyed by enemy teams, so you're going to want to place it somewhere that's not maybe right out in the open. The totem is also available to use by enemy teams, so you'll have to be aware of that as well. Now here's the second part where it gets tricky for a lot of people to understand just how damage works when you're under the shadow effect of the totem. You click the totem and you gain the shadow death protection effect. While under the effect, all of the damage that enemy players do to you will go directly to your health bar and ignore all of your shields. So in essence, what this means is you can only take 100 maximum damage in shadow form before you're going to get sent back to the totem to respawn. However, if you went into the totem with full shields, you're going to respawn at the totem with full shields and have to only worry about managing your health. No matter what you went into the totem with, your health will always be set to 1 HP if you die and get sent back to the totem. Now this could be very good or very bad depending on a lot of different situations. It can be very good if you coordinate with your team that you're going to make the entry push into an enemy squad and go into shadow form. So basically if you die, they're ready for you to respawn, they're going to hold off the enemy while you get your health back, and all is good, you still have your shields. Essentially giving you a free death that you can come back from. However, there are also a lot of situations where the totem play might just backfire in your face and end up costing you the game. If you've played Apex Legends for even a couple of weeks, you know that the second anybody hears enemy gunfire on that map, they are running directly towards it to get into the action. So you run in as Revenant and make your play, get sent back to the totem and start healing, and guess what? There's a third party behind you catching you while you're all weak. So basically what I'm trying to say here is Revenant's ultimate ability has the potential to make a lot of big plays for your team and basically give you a free life. But in my opinion, the most effective use of his totem is going to be placing that totem somewhere the enemy team has no idea where it is. Behind a cliffside, inside of a building in the back corner. You're going to want to hide that totem the best you can, so if you do die and get sent back to the totem, they're not going to have enough time to find you before you're already healed up and ready to go again. I think Death Totem as an ultimate can provide a lot of value to a really good, well-coordinated team, but you're going to have to do it the right way to see the most benefits out of it. I've seen too many Revenants already dropping a Death Totem mid-gunfight, right where the enemy team can see it, and then wondering why when they charge in, get sent back to the totem, they die immediately from grenades and gunfire. Well, that's because by dropping the death totem in their face, you basically said, hey, when you kill me, this is exactly where I'm going to show up again, so just be ready for it. So if you're that type of Revenant player, please just don't do that. Last but not least, Revenant does have a fairly small hitbox, so he is affected by the passive ability low profile, which means because he is so much harder to hit than other legends, he will take 5% more damage than other legends without this passive. This information isn't a deal breaker for most, but it should be noted. When all is said and done, Revenant is a super fun, creepy, and silent cyborg ninja with all of the movement mechanics and abilities you'd expect from an Assassin's Creed video game. Whether you're into crab walking side to side or climbing buildings like Spider-Man, I honestly think Revenant has a lot to offer for every playstyle out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this beginner's guide to Revenant, and there'll be more like this in the future as more Apex Legends release. Keep an eye out for an advanced tips and tricks video starring Revenant sometime in the near future as I gain more knowledge and expertise with this legend. If this video helped you out in any way today, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. Also, a like rating is always appreciated. I love you guys. This is Loochy, and until next time, as always, peace.